Folks, today is Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live from the Black Star Network. I'm live here at the National Press Club here in Washington, D.C., where I'll be talking to several black journalists in just a moment. Folks, twice impeached, criminally convicted con man Donald Trump literally is attacking former President Barack Obama, saying he committed treason when it came to Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. Obama has now responded to that. We'll show you what the idiot Trump had to say, plus Obama's response. Also, on today's show, lots to talk about when it comes to Republicans and their hypocrisy. A California congressman is blasting California Governor Gavin Newsom, saying over the issue of gerrymandering, but that same Republican was mighty quiet and is quiet. Republicans have gerrymandered in Wisconsin, North Carolina, Texas, and other places. Wait until we show you that. Plus, more people, outpouring of love and support in the wake of the death of Malcolm Jamal Warner. We'll show you more of that as well. Plus, the King family responds to Trump releasing thousands of pages related to the assassination of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which is really all about Jeffrey Epstein. And speaking of that, House Speaker Mike Johnson literally sent the House home early so they would not have to vote on Democratic resolutions regarding releasing the Epstein files. Lots to break down. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on Go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, an idiot was talking in the Oval Office today, and that is Donald Trump. He literally attacked former President Barack Obama, saying he committed treason as related to the Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, who leads the Office of Director of Intelligence, whatever the hell her title is, she issued this so-called explosive report detailing how it was all made up. That's a lie. Her report is literally a lie. The Republicans released their own report. Then Senator Marco Rubio, Trump's Secretary of State, was on that committee when they released the same report. Well, listen to what this fool Trump said today.
After what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. So people say, oh, you know, a group. It's not a group. It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released. And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level. So that's really the things you should be talking about. I know nothing about the other, but I think it's appropriate that they do go.
May I ask you about that, Mr. President? Tulsi Gabbard has submitted a criminal referral to the Department of Justice. From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper, the whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room. Right here, this was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up that came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life. That's the one they, look, he's guilty. It's not a question, you know, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there, he's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries.
Guys, that's an idiot. That's literally an idiot you saw talking. To sit here and say that he committed treason, that's just dumb. Okay, but let's just be real clear. They are desperately trying to deflect from Jeffrey Epstein. They can't stand the fact that the right has been going bonkers over this. So what does Trump do? He comes out, oh my God, it's all Obama, and they did this to me, and oh, I'm such a victim. It's more of the same crap over and over and over again, and it's total BS. I'll bring my panel. I'm Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA out of D.C. Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeaver, author of How Exceptional Black Women Lead, Unlocking the Secrets to Creating Phenomenal Success in Career and Life, co-founder and editor-in-chief of Max Black's Media. Michael Brown, former chair of the DNC Finance Committee out of D.C. Glad to have all three of y'all here. Folks, again, it's insane that we literally are having to talk about this fool, but it also goes to show you, Michael, how utterly crazy and deranged the right is and how he is still mad about the election when the fact of the matter is the Republicans released a report that showed there was Russian interference.
Correct. Well, first of all, hi, Roland. Thanks for having me. When you mentioned it, you already started off with it. It's about deflection, and he is good at that. He floods the zone with all kind of different conspiracy theories or stories or anything to get him off the topic, which is obviously, as you mentioned again, the Epstein files. So he's going to continue to do what he does. And interestingly enough, the deflection all have to do with people of color. That obviously Dr. Martin Luther King's papers or reports yesterday. Now he's accusing Obama of something. So of nonsense, by the way. But nonetheless, this is what he does. He's going to continue to do it. Even his own base is revolting because they're furious that they lied about, oh, there's so much here. We'll release it when we're back in the White House. They haven't done it. So I know it's they like to say promises made. But from my standpoint, it's promises made, promises broken. We still have wars going all across the world. Prices of food have not gone down like he promised. So now it's just another thing, and this will continue.
It is laughable having to listen to this fool, Avis, to watch this fool in the Oval Office. And you got the president of the Philippines sitting right there, and he's looking like a dumbass embarrassing the country.
Yeah, well, you know, if there's one thing we can count on him being able to do, it's to look like a dumbass and embarrass the country. That he's a savant when it comes to that. I will say with this specific deflection, absolutely, that's exactly what it is. I do find it funny, though, that he is focusing once again on Barack Obama. I guess he's thinking, okay, I know who my base is. They may not like me right now, but damn it, they're racist. Okay. A whole bunch of them are racist. And I want to sort of point them in the direction of Barack Hussein Obama because we know that they hate him. Okay, he's going to try it. He's going to try it. The sad situation, though, is, you know, there are crazies out there. And, you know, this is the type of thing that increases the likelihood of attempts at violence. But once again, he doesn't care. He doesn't care who he puts in harm's way. He doesn't care how many lies he has to make up. He will do whatever he can do to deflect from the fact that he himself is a sexual predator and he was associated with a sexual predator. And he wants to be able to have his base somehow no longer pay attention to the fact that he spent years talking about when he gets in office, he's going to release the Epstein list, which he now claims doesn't exist. And so until he makes that makes sense to his own base, I think it's going to be hard for him to be able to wrangle away from this bind that he's gotten himself in. I don't care how many black people he throws up as a distraction to try to get them to turn on the black guy instead of paying attention to what he's done.
Yeah, I mean, it's hilarious, Mustafa. I mean, they think this is going to happen. That's how desperate they are. And they literally think that this is going to do the trick. And it's not. Sorry, your guy's an idiot. And he was the one palling around with Epstein, not anybody else. It was Trump, and they can't stand that. And he's mad the story won't go away. So he's like, let's see, Obama, treason, bring the Redskins back. I mean, he's trying everything. Hey, man, you were the one who was kicking it with Epstein and the young girls.
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, first of all, put some respect on Obama's name, because he at least was an honorable man. He's not a perfect man, but, you know, compared between him and Trump, you know, even people who don't like President Obama, who might be on the right side of the equation, can see the difference that exists there. Right now, everybody knows that Trump is crazy as a bed bug, to quote my auntie when she describes people who just do stupid stuff and say stupid stuff just for attention. You know, T.S. Eliot back in, I think it was like 1936, he had a poem one time, and it was called Distracted by Distractions by Distraction. And what he meant by that is that individuals who don't want you to see their mess, who don't want you to see all the negative things that they've done, will continue to try to distract you and take attention away from the things that they've done. So that's exactly what's going on in this moment. He is trying to distract folks. He's having a difficult time because the issues that are in front of him are very serious. When you talk about someone being a pedophile, when you talk about someone sex trafficking, you know, most people in this country find that abhorrent, and they also want to know who was on the list. So no matter what he does, no matter what he throws up against the wall and expects to stick, even blame it on the black guy, which has always been part of their playbook, it's not going to work this time, because people want to know who was on the list and who's still walking around out there who hurt young girls and women.
Absolutely. We're going to go to a break. We come back. Wait till I show y'all what House Speaker Mike Johnson did. They are so scared to death of this issue that Johnson said, you know what, I'm just going to send y'all home early for the summer break, because we don't want to vote on the Democrats' amendments about releasing the Epstein files. That's how deathly afraid they are of this issue. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
On the next A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, we're talking about leveling up, or to put it another way, living your very best life. How to take a bold step forward that'll rock your world.
Leveling up is different for everybody. You know, I think we fall into this trap, which often gets us stuck, because we're looking at someone else's level up journey, what leveling up means to them. For some, it might be a business venture. For some, it might be a relationship situation, but it's different for everybody.
It's all a part of A Balanced Life. That's next on Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, Black Americans have 1/10 the wealth of their white counterparts. But how did we get here? It's a huge gap. Well, that's why we need to know the history and what we need to do to turn our income into wealth. Financial author and journalist Rodney Brooks joins us to tell us exactly what we need to do to achieve financial success.
You can't talk about why we are, as Black people, where we are, unless you talk about how we got here.
Bridging the Gap and Getting Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
This is Essence Atkins.
Mr. Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon.
It's me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you're watching.
You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, you want to see how scared these Republicans are? Check this out. House Speaker Mike Johnson literally sent the House home early for their summer break. They're going to be gone until September because they didn't want to vote on the amendments the Democrats were forcing a vote on to release the Jeffrey Epstein files. Seriously, they cut bait and ran. Listen to the so-called super Christian talk about this and why he did it today on Capitol Hill.
As you all know, I speak to the president multiple times a day on a typical day, often, always. And what I know about the president's heart on this is that he agrees with everything I've said here today. He wants maximum transparency, but he's also very insistent that we do not subject people who have already been victims of unspeakable crimes to further public scrutiny. And it would be a very dangerous thing to put those people's names out or to do a release of information in a way that is haphazard where they could be easily unmasked. And so you have to be very careful about how you do that. I think we have a moral responsibility to do that. We have a moral responsibility to expose the evil of Epstein, and everybody was involved in that. Absolutely. And we're resolved to do it. But we also have an equal moral responsibility to protect the innocent. And that is a fine needle to thread. And we could all give ourselves easy political cover and come out and do something in a haphazard fashion, but I would not be able to sleep at night because I know our legal responsibility. I understand what the legal standard is, but more than that, the moral standard, okay? So we're going to do this, and we're going to do it expeditiously. We're going to do it the right way. What is popular isn't always right, and what is right isn't always popular. I had an 8th grade teacher tell me that one time. I carried it with me my whole life. We're going to do the right thing here. And the American people at the end will see that we did that in the right way and on the right timetable.
Right thing in the right timetable? That's hilarious, Avis.
Yeah, it is hilarious, and it is so disingenuous. I mean, does he think we're idiots? I mean, really, does he think we're stupid? In what planet would we believe that Trump actually gives a damn about victims? Like, really? We're supposed to believe he had this conversation with Trump and he told him, in essence, I want to protect women. The man who bragged about grabbing women by the genitals cares about that? I mean, really? This is the most asinine explanation I have ever heard in my life. And clearly he's doing this because he knows that they don't have a leg to stand on when it comes to this issue. And far be it from him allow the party to get called out to the fact that they don't want to bring in any sort of specific information that would allow them to determine what's actually going on here. So, you know, he wants to make it sound like they're being chivalrous, but we know who we're talking about. We know exactly the type of man that Donald Trump is. He has never shown any sort of moral fortitude when it comes to protecting women in any way, shape, or form. In fact, if anything, he's only shown himself to be the predator that now he's protecting by hiding behind this effort to not actually call anyone to task to find out what's at the bottom of all this in terms of these Epstein files.
So here's what I find to be just hilarious about all of this, Mustafa, is, again, the super Christian himself, Mike Johnson. His, oh, you know, I don't like this. But they're just scared. And what gets me is I thought this is the party of family values. Why is it they're so afraid to release everything? They love talking about release everything about Russia and the so-called hoax. Release everything. We're not going to release everything. This is like, oh, we need to protect the victims. What's the last count, Mustafa? 22 different women have come out publicly and talked about what happened to them. So what exactly new names have to be protected?
There are none that we know of course. You know, when the speaker, you know, makes those ridiculous statements, I think about the words of Ida B. Wells when she said the way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth on them. So if you're serious about making sure that truth is being told and that we're addressing these impacts that have happened to these women and girls, then turn the light on, right? Make sure that you are releasing this information. Here's the other thing, Roland, is really interesting. So they ran on this particular issue as a part of their platform. So if you're running on something, that would mean on day one, you should already be putting together, you know, the elements that are necessary to move forward, whether it is in the House or the Senate or what's going on in the White House. So there's something that is foul in relationship to what's going on. The last thing I'll say, and I'm sure some people will have something to say about it, and that's all right, is that we got a whole lot of faux Christians running around, F-A-U-X, who don't live up to the values that the Bible teaches. So, you know, they just need to stop faking the funk. They need to also understand that this is not going away. And that they are going to have to address it, because it doesn't matter if you're talking about folks in Appalachia, they talking about this. They want to know what's going on. Folks down south want to know what's going on. Folks in the Midwest want to know what's going on. And folks on the West Coast want to know what's going on. So no matter where you go in this country, you are not going to be able to escape the accountability that folks are asking for, both Democrats, Republicans, and independents.
Michael, Obama did release a statement saying, out of respect for the office of the presidency, our office does not normally dignify the constant nonsense and misinformation flowing out of this White House with a response. But these claims are outrageous enough to merit one. These bizarre allegations are ridiculous in a weak attempt at distraction. Well, Michael, here's what Democrats should do. This is how, okay, so they come back in September, introduce amendments again. And then in October, do it again. In November and December, in January and February, I would completely shut the House down. I would say ain't nothing moving until we vote on these amendments, to piss Mike Johnson off, to piss all the Republicans off every single month. Because, see, I just believe the same thing in the Senate. After Cory Booker and all of them walked out of the Judiciary Committee, they're going to push through the nomination of Emil Bove. And you know what I say do? Okay, that's what y'all want to do? Not a problem. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to shut everything down. Democrats do not get ahead, to me, if they play nice. This is where you go hardcore and you hit them with everything.
Agreed completely. As you and I have talked about on several occasions, kind of sick and tired of bringing a knife to a gunfight. And these folks need to be dealt with accordingly. And the good thing about these particular amendments that may come out, or the discharge petitions on the Epstein files, is that they do have Republican support. That's really why Speaker Johnson, I don't even know why we call him Speaker, because the Congress has completely stepped backwards with their responsibility. But Mr. Johnson knows that there are Republicans in those numbers. Because if he knew he had the numbers, he would have put it up and it would fail. And he would say, see, we put it up and the American people clearly didn't want it. It's because of those Republicans that are, and they're strong. Congressman Massey is not moving. I think he may even be a co-sponsor of the discharge petition. So Mr. Johnson is doing what he's being told to do from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And frankly, that's how he's led the House. He's always had challenges with his numbers. We know the margins are thin, but nonetheless, he still does. And because everyone, when Elon Musk, I think we've all forgotten, he started all this. Now, clearly, for years it's been out there, but he really brought it back to the forefront. And now I think some of those chickens are coming home to roost. They started with all these conspiracy theories. They ran on it, as Mustafa said, and now all of a sudden, their base, their constituents are like, okay, now let us see. The problem is we don't know where, who may be involved in some of those documents. That's what they're protecting. That's who Mr. Johnson's protecting. And we'll have to see what happens, obviously, after Labor Day.
Absolutely. All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. We come back. We're going to talk about several different things. One, more folks paying tribute to Malcolm Jamal Warner. We'll talk to a couple of actors who knew him well up next. Also, a California Republican is just mad and upset that California Governor Gavin Newsom says that he may gerrymander seats in California. I'm sorry. Did I hear the Republicans say anything when Republicans did it in North Carolina, in Wisconsin, in Texas, and other states? I don't think so. Y'all know I got a couple things to say about that. Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your support is critical to our success. If you want to contribute to us via Cash App, do so via the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. Click the Cash App Pay button to contribute. Text and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Zohran Mamdani, the New York City mayoral race, and this progressive wave that has sent such a shockwave through all of New York City and really the rest of the country. Jamal Bowman is going to help us understand what this mayoral election means and how we make sure that it translates across the nation.
Can you imagine national Democrats like identifying themselves as having flavor or riz or swag? Like, absolutely not, right? So hopefully the city does what it can in November to help resurrect this dying party and honestly just resurrect our democracy.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
Farquhar, executive producer, Proud Family. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, officials in Costa Rica say what took place with Malcolm Jamal Warner is that they got a distress call that two men were in the water and were struggling. When paramedics arrived, they pulled one man out of the water who was in critical condition, raced him to the hospital. The other man, unfortunately, had already died. That man was Malcolm Jamal Warner. Tributes continue to pour in as folks all across the country and the world talk about what he meant, the impact as well. A couple of people joining us right now who work with him, who knew him. Dondre Whitfield is an actor. Brianna Davis is an actor, writer, and producer. Glad to have both of them on the show right now. Dondre, so many people obviously grew up with The Cosby Show, but not just that. There were other shows that Malcolm Jamal Warner was a part of, most recently a show on CBS as well, and he was a musician, and it's just amazing when you listen to all the people talk about what he meant. And I said this on yesterday, and I think the reason it also hits differently for a lot of people is that for those of us who are Gen X, again, this is somebody who was around the same age, who folks grew up with. And so it speaks to losing someone who you literally watched grow up as many of us were growing up as well.
Yeah, it's still hard for me to even fathom that this has happened, and I guess it sort of bolsters this theory that the good ones go too soon. Malcolm was a great brother and friend. Cosby Show was the first job I ever had. And so that show, those people became like a bonus family to me. And for many of us who didn't have solid family structures, the Cosby Show was sort of a way for you to be raised. If you didn't have a father figure, Cliff Huxtable was a father figure to you. If you didn't have a solid foundation with a loving, feminine, but resilient woman in your life, then Claire Huxtable was that to you. And Theo Huxtable was like the brother to all of us. And it is just devastating. I shed a lot of tears yesterday, even this morning, out at my son's golf tournament. But I shed tears not just for my own selfish reasons in my own loss, but the loss of a wife who he protected from the industry, from the limelight, and then an 8-year-old daughter who is, as a daughter, your father is the first love of your life. And so just being devastated by the fact that she's lost the first love of her life at 8 years old is just devastating.
the point you make there, he purposely did not reveal his wife and his daughter as well, because to your point, he wanted to be extremely private. Because to a lot of people in entertainment, they always talk about their family. He didn't want to do that. Brianna, share your relationship with Malcolm Jamal Warner. How far did they go back?
Yeah, so I don't want to sit here and say that I knew him personally really well, but I did have the opportunity over the last few years to work with him on 2 projects. I worked with him first during COVID on The Resident, and then I worked with him a couple of years later on The Wonder Years, where he played my father. We both guest starred on that episode. And during that time, I was still a student at Spelman College and a young actress, balancing the life of school and pursuing my career. And on both occasions, I just remember him being so genuine, so humble, so wise and graceful and generous. And both moments left lasting imprints on me. And he just talked to me a lot about books and documentaries. I was working on my major in documentary filmmaking. And we just had a great time working together. And he was one of those individuals where sometimes in this industry, it's rare to find a light. It's rare to find genuine, humble people who have been in the game 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus years. And he was one of those lights. He was one of those lights. And he was one of those people that is so well-rounded as a creative. And out of anything, this has taught me, because as Andre said, this has been a very tough thing to process, even in my generation. And it's been very tough to process, but he's taught me life is too short. And God has put so much in a lot of us as far as creativity and to create things and not being put in a box. So now is the time to just create. You got to get it out of you. You got to get it out there, whether somebody sees the work or not. You just got to create and always be a student of life and of the craft. So I'm praying for his family and his village.
Dondre, you talked about being on the Cosby Show, and again, a lot of people sort of lock people in time. And there was an interview that I saw that he did in May with Melissa Ford, and she asked him about legacy. And his mom said to him, because of that show and Bill Cosby and the Cosby Show, that Malcolm Jamal Warner will be eternal. Because of how beloved that show is. And although he did so many other things, I mean, the reality is that show was so iconic and so many people identified with their character that in many ways he will live on forever.
You know what's interesting about that, Brother Ro? Today during the golf tournament, there was another... a young man playing with in my son's group, and his father came up to me and said, "You know, brother, I've been wanting to tell you this for about the last 3 holes, and what you all did doing that show impacted my life to the extent that as a child of foster care, if I didn't have that show, I wouldn't have become the man that I ultimately became." Hearing that really...
right. I mean, that meant, yeah.
That just hit me really hard because it does speak to that. It speaks to how iconic that show was and how impactful it was. And Malcolm being a part of the powerful tapestry of that show, as you said, will absolutely live on forever in all of our hearts.
Adriana, he obviously was in this business at a very early age. And as someone on the young side of your career, I take it you were really listening intently to that advice on how to navigate this industry that can be very treacherous for someone young.
Absolutely, absolutely. And at that time, well, actually both times, my mother would come on set with me, and he said something to her. This was during COVID, and we were outside of the trailers just talking and whatnot. And he told my mother, he said, "You know, you remind me of my mother." so you're doing something right. And even just talking with her and how that stuck with her for a long time. And as I'm navigating my own career now and really trying to stay true to who I am as a creative, again, he's one of those individuals that I wholeheartedly look up to. And yeah, when you're in the room with greatness, when you're in the room with people who carry themselves with such talent and humility, you have to listen. You have to listen. So it was a lot of listening, and he was open to sharing, which is very important.
Dondre, final comment.
I lost a great brother. We all lost a great man, and I'm proud to have had this beautiful friendship, and this loss just activates my purpose in a more profound way, and I look to honor my brother with the work that I do in my purpose work.
Dondre Whitfield, Adriana Davis, I appreciate both of y'all being on the show, sharing your thoughts and reflections about Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Thank you, Ro.
Thanks a bunch. To my panelists, give you the opportunity to weigh in as well. Mustafa, you first.
You know, he was a good human. You know, I only met him a couple of times. The first time was back in the 90s. And he just had a maturity about himself. And watching him over the years care about, you know, students and young people and HBCUs and people's health, and being willing to, you know, utilize his platform to stand up in all those issues says a lot about who he was. And I think if any of us can leave this planet and people say you are a good human, then you did something right.
Avis?
Exactly right. I echo everything that Mustafa said. In addition to that, I would just say he was someone who carried himself with pride. He was someone who shared our culture and our history with the world, not only via his acting, but also via his own artistry in terms of his poetry, his music. He was a Renaissance man, a modern day Renaissance man who cared about people, who was someone we can all be proud of, who was a loving human being. I know that his daughter and wife, I just feel such deep sorrow for them. But I have to say, he was someone that so many of us loved. And if we did not know him personally, the reality is that he still touched the lives of millions with his positivity, strength, and pride. And that is a legacy worth remembering.
Michael.
I, like Mustafa, have met Malcolm Jamal Warner a couple of times in the late 90s and early 2000s. And what impressed me the most about when you meet any kind of celebrity is how they're carrying themselves around without, when they either meet you or when you watch them meet other people. And he was just like, you know, just regular old person, no pretenses with him. Seemed like a nice guy. Obviously, I didn't know him. Just met him a couple times, and but his work was outstanding. I mean, for our age group, he was kind of the black, you know, Greg Brady and Peter Brady for us. And so the Huxtables were obviously a big part of our growing up, and Theo was a huge part of it. So thoughts and prayers to his family. He will obviously be missed.
Folks, Malcolm Jamal Warner hosted a podcast with Candace Kelly. You often see her on this show providing legal analysis. It's called Not All Hood. She was supposed to join us, but they're actually working on a special. It's going to air on Friday. It's called Malcolm Left the Mic On. They say, want to hear your voice. It says, as we gather in community to reflect, share, and speak on the impact Malcolm had in our lives, whether you knew him personally or felt connected through his work, your story matters. Join the conversation. We're holding a space to honor the light he carried and the legacy he leaves behind. Let's remember together. That's going to be a live virtual event taking place Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. So we certainly look forward to that. Folks, going to go to a break. We come back. We're going to chat with some black female journalists here at the National Press Club about the future of media. We're going to also talk about gerrymandering in California. Wait till I show you what this Republican said. But it's amazing how he's been so quiet about Republican gerrymandering all across the country. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
On the next A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, we're talking about leveling up, or to put it another way, living your very best life. How to take a bold step forward that'll rock your world.
Leveling up is different for everybody. You know, I think we fall into this trap, which often gets us stuck because we're looking at someone else's level up journey, what leveling up means to them. For some, it might be a business venture. For some, it might be a relationship situation, but it's different for everybody.
It's all a part of A Balanced Life. That's next on Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Zohran Mamdani, the New York City mayoral race, and this progressive wave that has sent such a shockwave through all of New York City and really the rest of the country. Jamal Bowman is going to help us understand what this mayoral election means and how we make sure that it translates across the nation.
Can you imagine national Democrats like identifying themselves as having flavor or riz or swag? Like, absolutely not, right? So hopefully the city does what it can in November to help resurrect this dying party and honestly just resurrect our democracy.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, Black Americans have 1/10 the wealth of their white counterparts. But how did we get here? It's a huge gap. Well, that's why we need to know the history and what we need to do to turn our income into wealth. Financial author and journalist Rodney Brooks joins us to tell us exactly what we need to do to achieve financial success.
You can't talk about why we are, as Black people, where we are, unless you talk about how we got here.
Bridging the gap and getting wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
Me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. We're live here at the National Press Club. A little bit earlier, there was a reception here put together by a group of black female journalists. Y'all have been, of course, paying attention. National Association of Black Journalists. We've got our elections taking place. Right now, folks, actually voting happens right now. And, of course, you already know I'm running for Vice President Digital. Erin Haynes, who's one of the senior leaders with the 19th, which targets a journalism site that focuses on women in America. She's running for president. She joins me right now. Erin, what's happening?
Listen, we are out here. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for standing with me to take NABJ into our next 50 years, because it is time.
First, before we get to NABJ, let's talk about just where this industry is and how insane it is. You've got media companies that are being sued, doing settlements with Trump. You've got folks left and right who are making, to me, just crazy decisions. We've got contraction. We've got all these sort of different things happening. But the biggest thing is we got an industry that's actually scared to swing, scared to actually focus on truth because everybody's afraid that Trump might tweet and talk about him.
Yeah, I mean, look, journalism is under attack. You know that. The truth is under attack. Black America is under attack. Black journalists are under attack. And we need somebody that's going to be a fighter who's going to say, no, this is not acceptable. The truth matters in a healthy democracy. And so who is speaking up for that? No matter who says that it doesn't matter, we must be the ones that say that it does matter, that our stories are part of what makes more of an honest and accurate record of who and where we are as a country. Why can't we just say that even?
In fact, the other day, I saw something that just tripped me out. So the New York Times had this headline about, oh, everybody's moved on, Trump from Epstein. I'm going, I'm sorry.
According to who? Yeah, they
really?
Newsflash, no, they have not. No, they are not, right? But like, who's going to point to that, or who's going to say, oh, wait, what is it really about for this administration to release MLK's records from the FBI? Like, what is that about? Like, why are we talking about that right now when clearly so much of the country is still focused on trying to get accountability and transparency on this story that has captured so much of America that the President of the United States literally is a part of, right? Like, we have folks, we have black journalists, we have others that are continuing to ask those questions right now.
The whole point there when you talk about the black journalism part, what we're also seeing is we're seeing the shift in this industry.
Yeah.
In terms of what's happening with digital. And I keep telling everybody, stop saying that it's newspaper, television, radio. No, the entire industry is now digital.
Yeah,
everywhere.
Been digital. Yeah, been digital. And you are somebody that knows that. You have been on the forefront of that shift. And now, you know, here you are. You've got this platform. You are reaching our audiences as a trusted messenger to folks. This is the role that we can play now. This is why it is important for our journalists to be digital and to understand what that means, to be able to meet this moment, not just for our profession, but for Black America.
Talk about the 19th. Folks who have no idea what that is, talk about that.
Thank you for asking. Listen, the 19th is a news platform that I helped start 5 years ago because we knew that the news industry was too male and too pale, and we needed to do this differently. So we start the 19th in 2020 to tell a different story around gender, politics, and power.
Now, it's a nonprofit or for-profit?
It is a nonprofit newsroom with a diverse funding model because we know we cannot be beholden to corporate, the corporations that we need to hold accountable and frankly, that have shown that they do not prioritize our audiences, women, people of color, LGBTQ plus people who have been historically marginalized in this democracy. Those are the people that we want to center. And so figuring out how we can create a sustainable model to really be able to tell their story, to tell a real story about who and where we are as a country, like that is why we started the 19th.
Now, being on journalism side is one thing, but having to raise money is a whole different ballgame.
Amen. Yeah. Listen, editor-at-large means I wear a lot of hats at the 19th. And so one of those, is making sure that we have the money to be a sustainable organization. The good news is the 19th has a story that we are able to tell and we are able to sell, right? A story that is compelling to people. I appreciate so many people. If you are somebody that's watching the show right now who's donated to the 19th, who supported us with your dollars, and we appreciate you. But also, public philanthropy, private philanthropy, to some extent corporate sponsors, but again, members who give $19 a month. Like, you have to be able to tell that story to people and think about the range of people. You got to get creative about fundraising to be able to raise the money that we have raised in the nonprofit journalism space. Like, it is unusual. Our success, I mean, I'm grateful for it, but frankly, this is not the story of everybody that is in nonprofit journalism. It is certainly not the story of our business kind of writ large in this moment. That we have been able to do this is a testament to the power of our narrative, but also to just how we're thinking outside the box about how to do this work.
This is the 50th anniversary of the National Association of Black Journalists, and you couldn't tell outside of the organization if the world even knows that, which makes no sense to me, which is a huge reason why we're also running.
Absolutely.
And it drives me crazy because we should be not just celebrating, but laying out to people the critical role that black journalists play right now. And frankly, our organization is MIA.
Listen, this is not something that you should know about just because you and I are running, to be the next iteration of leadership in the organization, or something that people learn about because they've seen it on convention literature. Like, this is our 50th birthday, and we are also at a crossroads for our profession and for our people. Like, we have a story to tell right now. You could not have a better narrative going into our 50th birthday, right? The opportunity, but also the peril that we are facing as black journalists. We should be telling that story. We matter more than ever, and also we can be moving forward into our next 50 years in the bold, visionary spirit of those 44 founders that came together in 1975 and said, no, what is happening now is not acceptable. Our stories matter, our journalists matter, and we are going to say that loudly and boldly in this industry and in this country.
Well, especially at a time when you see the attacks on DEI.
Absolutely.
Corporations are pulling back funds, and they know, hey, Trump's there 3.5 more years. We don't have to do any of this stuff, which means that black organizations have to be even more focused on what our agenda is. When I say black organizations, I mean NABJ, NAACP, Urban League, all across the board.
In coalition, too, right? I mean, look, black advocacy organizations and folks who are being targeted with the attacks against diversity, equity, and inclusion, and let's call it what it is, right? Because this was something that folks were in favor of just a few years ago. Now they're turning away. Why is that acceptable? It shouldn't be acceptable, and also there is strength in numbers, right? You and I have sat down, we've talked to Mark Morial about, at the National Urban League about what that kind of strength in numbers can look like when not only NABJ says the attack on journalism, on black journalism is unacceptable. National Urban League echoes that. NAACP echoes that. Because guess what? It's you today and it's going to be us tomorrow, and we all have to stand together to say no and to push back against any attempts to silence our voices and to silence our representation.
Absolutely. So, folks, if you're an NABJ member, you can vote right now online. So you should. Well, what was it? What the email is from? What is it?
Aaron for NABJ.com.
No reply at something because it's not an NABJ extension.
You're getting the newsletter. No. But it's Aaron for NABJ.com. Aaron for NABJ at gmail.com. Reach out to me if you're getting. I have a free newsletter that I put out every single week talking about what I'm going to do for the organization, and because we have to be transparent too, right? Like that's important. We're a journalism organization. We got to let people know what we're doing and what we're going to do for them.
But folks, again, you can vote right now.
Right now.
Voting takes place through August 8th, I think. Yeah. So y'all can vote right now. So we
and tell 3 more people to vote too.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't be lazy. And absolutely, because y'all know we believe in voting and everything else. So we're going to do a switch right now because I'm going to talk to Jackie Jones. So Jackie is the dean at Morgan State University. Jackie, come on over here. At Morgan State, and just stand right there next to Aaron. And you get to hold the mic while Jackie talking. Jackie can hold it. Jackie, you can just step right there. You step right there.
Listen.
So Jackie, the point Aaron was making there, when we talk about what's happening right now in this country, HBCUs are impacted, but this is a time more than ever when you've got to have strong black journalists telling our stories.
Absolutely, and they need to understand the whole history of what we do, right? Because I think so many of our students come in with no clue. Yeah. And they think, oh, I just want to stand in front of a camera. They even tell me now, and this blew me away, I don't want to be a journalist, I want to be a storyteller. I said, what do you think we do?
Right.
Whose stories are we telling? But what that tells me, because words are important, and if they think that journalists don't tell stories, now we've got an even bigger problem than we think. And we have to get them to understand that that's how you get the information out, by telling the stories of people impacted by the things that happen to them.
You also have to deal with this here, and that is you've got a lot of journalists, young journalists, they all want to have an opinion. And a lot of their opinion is not based upon actual experience or reporting.
The craft.
And I'm constantly saying, hey, before you can start giving your opinion on stuff, how about you focus on who, what, where, when, how, and why? As the dean of an HBCU School of Communications, how are you dealing with that?
Oh, that's the foundation of everything that we do. You have to have the basics. James Baldwin once said you have to know the rules to break the rules. So you've got to know what you're talking about. You know, we say it on our radio station. We have an NPR-affiliated station. We are the voice of the community. Well, people are relying on us to know what we're talking about. You want to make sure that you are not just taking information that somebody gives you without vetting it, without understanding the impact it's going to have. You're not just repeating, you're reporting. And there's a big distinction, and we drill that into them, and we make them do everything. You write across all platforms, you shoot, you edit, you do everything that a journalist does. And so I don't even let them talk in silos. You're a journalist. Journalists do everything. You get out there in the street and you cover something, and if something happens, something breaks down, you jump in, you do the next thing. I've seen you do it. I've seen Aaron do it. It's what we do, and we don't run from the news, and we don't try to obfuscate anything. If you can't do that, if you're too scared to do that, you got to think about whether this is where you really want to be. And they never want to be told that they can't. Right. So it's like you're going to come in, you're going to do the work, and you have to do it from the inside out.
Last question for you. You had extensive career in journalism. And frankly, there are very few folk who are deans of School of Communication who actually work in the business. And so how do you make sure that real world experience comes into the classroom? Because the issue that I've had, too many folk in classrooms have a theoretical understanding of media and not a real world understanding of what we do every day right now.
I encourage faculty to go out in the field with students. We give them practical experience. So they come in, it's hands-on. They used to tell freshmen, the advisors would say, oh, well, wait until you're a sophomore and you're actually taking courses in the major before. I'm like, no, you come in here, you're going to work for the student publication, you're going to be on Bear TV, you're going to be on the radio station, you're going to do all of the things that we do. Every department in our school has a performance center. And the students have to put in a certain amount of time doing that, and then we take them out in the street. We do partnerships, we do collaborations, we pull in professional partners, and we make them work from day one. So what they learn in the classroom makes more sense because they're like, oh yeah, that's like when I went out last week. So by the time they graduate, the goal is for you to walk across the stage with a diploma in one hand and a job in the other.
Hello.
And if I don't know, and I tell my seniors this every year, if you leave this school and I don't know who you are, we've got a problem. I need to know everybody's name. I need to know where you're going, what you're doing, what your plan is, and I will call you out, and I have no problems with that. And so far, it's worked out pretty well. In the last 5 years, we've had 5 students who have either won Pulitzer Prizes or Emmys, and I stand on that.
So I'm gonna tell y'all this here. So we had one of the Morgan State students as an intern, and Jack is like, I don't know what the hell y'all did, but that girl sure came back different than when she left. Cause right, them 10 weeks, she went through the paces.
Yeah, when she came in, I said, well, how was it working for Mr. Martin? She said, oh my God, I was so scared every day. I said, well, that's good for you.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Like having Wheaties for breakfast every day.
That's it. Jackie, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Aaron, just talk about what you want to do as president for HBCUs, and then I'm gonna bring in Sheila Brooks. So Jackie, you can go and step out. Sheila, come on, step in. So while Aaron is talking, then I'm gonna introduce Sheila. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look, so I'm already doing it at the 19th. We've got a fellowship for HBCUs, making sure that we create that pipeline.
Yeah, you were talking about it earlier, the reception. Yeah. You said it's fully paid.
Fully paid.
Benefits.
Full benefits, 401k from day one, and you are fully immersed in the organization. You are put to work from day one at the 19th. And so by the time your year is over, we expect you to be fully employable, and we will help you find your next job moving on from the 19th. So, like, we must be there for our HBCU students. We know that they are just as talented, just as capable, they just need the opportunities. And so getting them in front of the folks that need to hire them so that they can see what we see at NABJ in those students, because we've prepared them, right? We must prepare them. So getting them in front of those students is I mean, it is our obligation for the next generation.
Sheila Brooks, a longtime journalist, executive producer on all levels, SRB Productions, launched your own company. And the reason I wanted to talk to you, Sheila, because you are one of the companies being impacted by all these changes happening in D.C. There are so many companies that have black-owned companies and others that have lost lots of business deals, lots of contracts because of Doge cuts. And when your business is based upon government contracts, federal, state, county, city, the climate we're in has completely disrupted companies like yours.
It absolutely has. And one thing as business owners, we had to start looking at this last year. It didn't just happen in January.
You had to see it coming.
We saw it coming. We had to be visionary. And we saw it when it was all happening in corporate America, and corporate America was cutting back on many of their contracts. DEI, the attack on DEI, came first with corporations. That's where a lot of our business comes from. And then we have this whole bank of business that also comes from the federal government. So then we just had just a trickle-down effect when January 20th rolls in and we have all these contracts from the federal government. And here's the deal. We're in the business of doing business with the federal government as minority and women-owned and small businesses. Always have been. It doesn't matter who's in office.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's what political party is in office. We are in the business of doing business.
Well, the issue you have right now is that Trump wants to get rid of the $37 billion DBE program. 78% of that money goes to white women. Last year was a record for black businesses, $10 billion. And so if that happens, I keep warning people. They have no idea what the impact is going to be on job losses, charitable contributions, you name it, from black-owned businesses to the black community if that goes away.
It's going to be a travesty. Already is. So many federal government agencies have cut back on all of their contracting. They're not spending the money. We may have the contracts in place, but there is no spend there.
Right.
So when this
you got a sheet of paper.
Right. You got a sheet of paper.
Ain't no work.
It's 3-4 years of contracts and you don't have it. You know, and so we're sitting out here saying, okay, in challenging times like this, uncertain times, the political environment like it is, what we have to do is we have to look at these challenging times as growth drivers.
Right.
We have to look at other revenue streams. And that's our challenge right now as small business owners.
All right, Sheila, appreciate it.
Okay,
thanks a
thank you
bunch.
so much.
And our last point, one of the things that we keep talking about is that our business is changing. Individual members are now individual companies.
Yeah.
And what I keep saying is we got to be teaching the business of the business.
Absolutely.
Because folk, I don't want to, my wife keeps saying don't say it's easy, but actually content is easy. But how to make money from it is a different conversation. And a lot of our folks have no clue about business of the business.
That's absolutely true. And that's been true. That was true for a long time. When I was a younger journalist, folks had the luxury of paying more attention to how to do this work instead of the business of the work, right? Listening to what Sheila was just saying, scenario planning. That's something we did at the 19th. Thinking about what might happen depending on what the climate is in this country. How will that affect our business? Right? Not just the journalism that we do, but our sustainability as an organization. We have to be thinking about that. We have to be spreading that mentality among our colleagues that you have got to be concerned about the business. And also, if you are somebody that says, because we know a lot of folks that want to make content, but they don't know how to monetize it.
Nope.
Like, how are you going to start having that conversation? Just because you want to do this doesn't mean you know how to make money doing it.
Right.
And just because you do it does not mean the money's going to come.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just say, well, I'll just put it out there. No, that ain't how it works.
That's not how it works.
All right, so there's a lot of work. Again, if you are a black journalist or you're a member of NABJ, you can vote. Aaron's running for president. I'm running for VP Digital. And so we want y'all to make it happen because what we're talking about, I guarantee y'all have no idea. If you do not have black folks in mainstream newsrooms, what did I say last night? If you don't have black-owned media, then y'all have no idea how much stuff we stop from being published. Compared to, it was so many things that happened when I was at CNN that never got on the air because I was in that newsroom and I wouldn't let a lot of stuff get done that was not factually correct.
Correct.
And so people have no idea.
And things we make happen because of the lens that we have and the perspective that we bring to this craft. Absolutely.
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 Aaron, we appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
All right, folks, got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. We look at one of the most influential and prominent Black Americans of the 20th century. His work literally changed the world. Among other things, he played a major role in creating the United Nations. He was the first African American and first person of color to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And yet today, he is hardly a household name. We're talking, of course, about Ralph J. Bunche. A new book refers to him as the absolutely indispensable man.
His lifelong interest and passion in racial justice, specifically in the form of colonialism. And he saw his work as an activist and advocate for the Black community here in the United States as just the other side of the coin of his work trying to roll back European empire in Africa.
Author Cal Rostiala will join us to share his incredible story. That's on the next Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Zohran Mamdani, the New York City mayoral race, and this progressive wave that has sent such a shockwave through all of New York City and really the rest of the country. Jamal Bowman is going to help us understand what this mayoral election means and how we make sure that it translates across the nation.
Can you imagine national Democrats like identifying themselves as having flavor or riz or swag? Like, absolutely not, right? So hopefully the city does what it can in November to help resurrect this dying party and honestly just resurrect our democracy.
Only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
On the next A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, we're talking about leveling up, or to put it another way, living your very best life. How to take a bold step forward that'll rock your world.
Leveling up is different for everybody. You know, I think we fall into this trap, which often gets us stuck because we're looking at someone else's level up journey, what leveling up means to them. For some, it might be a business venture. For some, it might be a relationship situation, but it's different for everybody.
It's all a part of A Balanced Life. That's next on Black Star Network.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, y'all want a good laugh? So Republicans are now criticizing California Gavin Newsom because he said that if Texas gerrymanders 5 seats and they knock out Democrats, he's going to do the exact same thing in California. Listen to this California congressman going on one of these conservative outlets, whining and complaining. This is hilarious.
I think it's pretty farcical for Hakeem Jeffries to say that he just wants things to be fair. What he wants is to be speaker, and he's willing to take any measures that he sees as facilitating that goal. What we have playing out in California is we already have an independent, nonpartisan redistricting commission that was established by voters through a democratic process. And now the governor of the state, Gavin Newsom, is talking about trying to override the will of voters and abolish that commission and replace its maps with those drawn by himself and the supermajority legislature. And what they're talking about, by the way, is trying to wipe out 6 of the 9 seats that Republicans currently have in Congress. So what would that mean? It would mean that California's congressional representation would be 3 Republicans and 49 Democrats. So we'd have fewer than 6% of the congressional seats, even though Republicans get over 40% of the vote in statewide elections. I'm not sure that sounds very fair to me, to use Leader Jeffries' term.
Well, let's talk more about Hakeem Jeffries there, Congressman. He says what they're going to do is fair. What the GOP is going to do, especially in Texas, is only at the bidding of President Trump.
Well, look, to be honest, I don't love what's going on in Texas either, but it is very different than what's happening in California, because California has an independent commission that has been set up by voters. And so for the governor to say that he's going to ignore that or try to override it or circumvent it, that is directly defying the will of California voters, who have said by an overwhelming majority that they want this process to be nonpartisan, that voters ought to pick politicians. It shouldn't be the other way around, with politicians picking their voters. But what's more, even if you look at the most aggressive plan that's being put forward in California, in Texas, that would still leave the Democrats with about 1/4 of the seats over there. Whereas what they're proposing in California is to reduce the representation of Republicans to 6% in a state that is already a one-party state, with the Democrats having a super-duper majority in the legislature, holding the governor's office and every other statewide office. So it would be eliminating any semblance whatsoever of checks and balances in our state.
So, Congressman Kiley, what do you think will happen in your state of California? Do you think Governor Newsom will pull off, as you said, redistricting based on his map?
Well, Newsom will do whatever he thinks works to his own advantage. He's obviously out there trying to run for president. Really, he's trying to run for a second time. He'd hoped he was going to be the guy after Biden stepped out in 2024. So he's latching on to this as somehow a way to put himself.
Okay, here's what I find to be interesting. In November, Democrats won the governor's mansion, lieutenant governor's race. This is in North Carolina. Governor's race, lieutenant governor's race, secretary of state, attorney general, and a seat on the Supreme Court. Yeah, on the congressional level, Republicans have a 10-3 majority. Do y'all know why? Because the Republicans gerrymandered North Carolina. It used to be 7-7, 7 Democrats, 7 Republicans. They control the legislature. They changed it for a 10-3 majority. Oh, I'm sorry. How many seats do the GOP control the House right now? 4, right there in North Carolina. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the same congressman. He was tweeting about, oh, well, if 41% of Californians voted for Republican. That's interesting because an analysis was done, Avis, that showed that Democrats, if they won 55% of the vote in Wisconsin, they would still be in the minority in the Wisconsin legislature and the Wisconsin congressional district because the Republicans in Wisconsin gerrymandered Wisconsin. I don't recall seeing this Republican and others saying, well, this is just not right, unfair. In fact, he complained about the state commission there in California. I remember that Ohio a couple of years ago passed a similar deal, and the Republicans in Ohio said, the hell with that commission. We're going to gerrymander anyway. So, you know what? I don't want to hear shit from any Republican complaining about Democrats gerrymandering when that's what they've done. You want to play that game? Democrats should be going hardcore gerrymandering every single state where they have a majority. And if that means wiping Republicans out, that's the game y'all want to play? Let's play.
I agree. What's baffling to me is that it took so damn long. I mean, come on. This is something, particularly in the House, that has been going on in an egregious manner in several states to benefit the Republicans for years. And it's just another example about how the Democrats want to play by the rules and the Republicans just want to rule by any means necessary. And it's very, very rich. It's very, very rich to hear all of a sudden all of this angst by this Republican who is finally put in a position where he might have to take a little bit of the medicine that they've been doling out now for years in several different states across the nation. So I'm glad that Gavin Newsom is actually manning up and actually saying, I'm going to do something about this. And if other democratically controlled states started to get on the bandwagon and do this too, at least we could fight fire with fire. And the good thing is, honestly, in terms of fighting fire with fire, the blue states typically have larger populations. So if the Republicans want to play this game, go ahead and play this game, okay? And see how well it goes for you in the future. This is exactly what needs to happen if we want to start to be able to fight back against what we are seeing now with this tyrannical minority that is trying to create an autocratic state.
Michael, I absolutely believe in nonpartisan commissions laying out congressional districts. I personally believe that we shouldn't have these weird snakes and all these weird configurations where Republicans and some places Democrats are trying to gain majorities by being able to redraw maps. To me, they should be contiguous. They should make sense. But this is very simple. If Republicans are going to redistrict in the middle of a census in 2025, normally this is done, census is taken 2020, redistricting takes place in 2021. Okay, if they're going to do this in Texas, if they're going to do it in other states, well, guess what? Illinois should do it. Michigan should do it. Maryland should do it. And listen, what Gavin Newsom is saying, okay, y'all want to go there? Not a problem. I can do it too. You going to pick up 5 in Texas? I'm going to pick up 7 or 8 in California. Let's go.
Absolutely. And that's where they've made this decision clearly. I don't know if they're rethinking it. I guess we'll find out if Governor Abbott in Texas says, you know what, I didn't know we were going to start this kind of firestorm. I don't know why he wouldn't have thought that. But hopefully people do step up and say it's time for us to use the term, I think that Avis uses, fire with fire. And so we'll see. But gerrymandering is so interesting because, yes, obviously it's about clearly the power in the United States Congress and Senate, mostly in Congress, obviously. But some of those snake districts you were referring to were also to drive out black elected officials as well. Hence to split up black communities so the votes wouldn't go to people they chose to want to vote for or who they wanted to have represent them in Congress. So gerrymandering is obviously a political tool. The question is, hopefully the leadership in the Democratic Party will say, you know what? Okay, let's go. We have to do this by necessity. This isn't even an issue of, because as you know, we play sometimes, as I think Avis mentioned, by the rules. They've changed the rules. So since they've changed the rules, let's play it by the new rules. And the new rules are, let's go into the blue states and gerrymander some of these people out. And we'll see what happens. Hopefully the leadership of the party will take that. Listen, Gavin Newsom has clearly aspirations. A lot of people, this is why they like him, because he steps up and wants to fight. A lot of people claim, I'm going to fight and I'll fight for this, that, and the other. But that doesn't mean you want to fight. Gavin Newsom wants to fight. Remember, he went on one-on-one with Sean Hannity with no fear. He debated Governor DeSantis. So he clearly wants this fight. I'm proud of him. I hope other people follow unless Texas backpedals.
Mustafa, for me, is real simple. Again, if somebody said "nuck if you buck" in the chat, listen, Republicans, they believe in power. My greatest criticism of Democrats, if they've never understood the power game. And this is where you say, if that's how y'all want to roll, that's not a problem. But we're about to respond accordingly. You fire, we fire. The Supreme Court has already said they have no role when it comes to political gerrymandering, that is up to the state Supreme Courts. Guess what? Where you have an advantage, you do it. You take advantage of it. If they want to do it in Texas, you respond in California. If they do it in Ohio, and then you respond in Wisconsin. If they do it in North Carolina, you respond in Illinois. You say, to Avis's point, the most populous states in America are blue states. That's how you respond.
Yeah, it's game, recognized game. It's really that simple. If you got power, then you're going to use it. If you really want to make sure that this country heals and this country becomes more equitable and continues to grow, then we've got to change the dynamics that are going on. Michael laid it out. The gerrymandering, redistricting, all these different types of things, tools that people have used to disempower black folks, to hold on to power for themselves, to move resources into their communities and to leave them out of the communities that needed them the most, is all tied to these sets of actions. So as my grandmother says, you have power unless you give it away. I hope Democrats finally start to understand how this game actually is playing out in the 21st century. And I hope one day that we can get back to nonpartisan commissions, but we're not living in that moment right now.
Folks, going to a quick break. We come back. We're going to talk about these corrupt sheriffs in Louisiana, and also Brett Hankerson, the cop convicted in the shooting of Breonna Taylor. Judge sentences him to prison. Yeah, we're going to talk about that too. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Zohran Mamdani, the New York City mayoral race, and this progressive wave that has sent such a shockwave through all of New York City and really the rest of the country. Jamal Bowman is going to help us understand what this mayoral election means and how we make sure that it translates across the nation.
Can you imagine national Democrats identifying themselves as having flavor or riz or swag? Absolutely not, right? So hopefully the city does what it can in November to help resurrect this dying party and honestly just resurrect our democracy.
Only on The Other Side of Change on the Black Star Network.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder.
Right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
And it. All right, folks, Miss Pruitt's Gourmet Cha-Cha. That's right, one of the products in our Shop BlackStarNetwork.com list of products. Joining us right now is Linda K. Pruitt from Detroit, Michigan. This is a product here, a sauce made entirely from vegetables, gluten-free, vegan-friendly, crafted in Detroit, passed down from generations. How many generations? Where did this recipe start in your family lineage?
Thank you so much for the invitation. So, Ma Pruitt, my mother-in-law, gave me the recipe and told me to go and tell the world about cha-cha. I started because I had this small business class, and I was telling my husband about it, and I said I got this great idea for a small business. He said, no way, you got to start selling cha-cha. I was like, what's cha-cha? It's an authentic Southern cuisine. It's a relish condiment sauce. You got to talk to my mother about this cha-cha. She's going to tell you about it. It's a great history, rich history. So Ma Pruitt, my mother-in-law, and I sat down, and she talked about cha-cha. She gave me the history lesson about cha-cha. She told me that cha-cha.
So it's a relish. Hold on, it's
Yes.
a relish.
It's a relish condiment sauce. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
got it. And what is it put on? Is it put on bread? Is it put on crackers? What is it put on?
Historically, collard greens, pinto beans, black-eyed peas, hot water cornbread. Oh yeah. Yes. Nowadays.
Got it. Okay. So when you asked about what is cha-cha, what did she say?
She sat me down and she talked about cha-cha, the history of it. And she said that cha-cha originated in the backwoods of South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. 5 generations in the early 1830s. And she said that her mother told her about it. And their ancestors were slaves. When they were not picking cotton in the fields or gathering up the vegetables, they were allowed to pick up the scraps. That's right. Cabbage leaves, green tomatoes, not red, cabbage leaves and green tomatoes. So green tomatoes are firm. They were able to put them in their blue jean pockets and their apron pockets. They gathered up cabbage, green tomatoes, peppers, onions, different herbs, and they put together what they call cha-cha. Cha-cha, they considered as
wow.
Yeah, it was very labor intense. They chopped up really small chunks of all vegetables, and they fermented the product as well, the cha-cha as well.
All right. Questions for my panel. Let's see here. Mustafa, Avis. We know Michael, he don't cook nothing, so we ain't going to start with him. Well, we know Avis don't cook either, so let's go to Mustafa first.
Hey, good. All right. Well, anyway, shout out to the D. Appreciate you being here with us. Quick question. So, a lot of folks are now focusing on healthier lifestyles and healthier diets. Can you talk a little bit about your product and how it helps us?
Cha-cha is plant-based. It's all vegetables, gluten-free, keto-friendly, and it's very natural in that it has no preservatives, none at all. There's no yellow dye, number 5 dye in it at all. It's made with apple cider vinegar, and it's pickling spice, and it's very natural, all plant-based, unlike others, that have chemicals. Mrs. Pruitt's Gourmet Cha-Cha does not.
All right, Avis.
Okay, so now that Roland has called me out as being a non-cooker, okay, but I do eat, okay, and I love.
You know I ain't lying, Avis. You know you don't cook.
I have a very limited repertoire. Okay, that's what I say. I cook, but a very limited repertoire. That said, I do love soul food. And so I love to eat. And soul food is my favorite cuisine. So I have never heard of cha-cha. However, I do know that I think some of the best chefs in the world are based in South Carolina. So can you tell me a little bit more about just how is cha-cha something that is very particular to South Carolinian soul food cuisine, or is this something that can be found all over the South?
So Ma Pruitt told me, when she told me about cha-cha, she said that it originated in where she's from, South Carolina, but cha-cha is always known as an authentic Southern classic cuisine. And she said that it was not only Southern, but when they migrated from the South to the North, they brought all their vegetables and ingredients to the North. Cha-cha as they came back, to the North. So it is a Southern cuisine, a Southern classic cuisine. And when I was doing my research, I did not find a whole lot of information about cha-cha. And so I kept doing more and more research, and I learned so much about cha-cha from Ma Pruitt. Because there's very little information out there about it.
Michael.
Thank you, Roland, for your incorrect introduction. I can burn for your information, but maybe one day I shall do that for you. My question is...
Man, Michael, don't nobody believe you can cook. Go on ahead. You probably a microwave king.
My question is, my sister-in-law is a vegan and cooks very well. She tries to make it as flavorful as possible. As a carnivore, how can she attract me more to some of her cuisine? What are some of your tips for her to attract, I guess, people like me? She's done cauliflower steaks, which she seasons up. She gives me a steak knife. So how else can she satisfy the carnivores of the world?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that question, because cha-cha is plant-based, and vegans love cha-cha. It really enhances the flavor in tofu, any kind of vegetables. I love it on a veggie burger, and any kind of soups, salads. It really enhances the flavor of whatever they're eating as a snack, meal. It's amazing in terms of enhancing the flavor. Oh yeah, for sure.
And I know you'll mention it. How do we get your products? Where are they?
Yeah, online.
Michael, we got that. Michael, we got that. Okay, Michael. You get one question, Michael. That's it. We know you can't cook, but you get one question. All right, y'all. If y'all want to get Miss Pruitt's Gourmet Cha-Cha, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. You see the product right there. It's among the other products that are on our news desk. But if you go to our website, shopblackstarnetwork.com, you can get the products with the other Black-owned products that we have on there. Linda K. Pruitt, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. And I look forward to testing this out when I get back in the studio.
Thanks so much for the invitation. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. All right, folks, quick break, final two stories, and then we're out. Back on Roland Martin Unfiltered in a moment.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr, we look at one of the most influential and prominent Black Americans of the 20th century. His work literally changed the world. Among other things, he played a major role in creating the United Nations. He was the first African American and first person of color to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And yet today, he is hardly a household name. We're talking, of course, about Ralph J. Bunche. A new book refers to him as the absolutely indispensable man.
His lifelong interest and passion in racial justice, specifically in the form of colonialism. And he saw his work as an activist and advocate for the Black community here in the United States as just the other side of the coin of his work trying to roll back European empire in Africa.
Author Cal Rostiala will join us to share his incredible story. That's on the next Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? This is Wendell Haskins, a.k.a. Win Hogan at the Original T Golf Classic. And you know I watch Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, Brett Hankerson, the former Louisville police officer who was convicted in the death of Breonna Taylor, a federal judge slapped him with 33 years in prison. Now, the Trump DOJ only wanted him sentenced to 1 day, which was time served, but the judge was like, nah, he really should have got a hell of a lot more for that. He was convicted in November of using excessive force in the deadly raid on Breonna Taylor's home, resulting in her death. Her mother, Tamika Palmer, spoke last night to CNN.
It wasn't justice, but I got essentially what I started out for, which was jail time. So it's a start.
When you heard the prosecution say 1 day, what went through your mind?
I couldn't understand why he was there. I from the moment it started, I felt as if he should have been sitting next to Brett Hankerson.
The prosecutor, you mean?
Yes, absolutely.
Is that what you meant? Because there was a moment you said, I'm sorry, there was a moment you said something like outside the courthouse, there was no prosecution for us. Is that what you meant? You didn't have an advocate?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I meant. He advocated for Brett the whole time. Like, there was no advocacy for the family, for any of the victims. It was him literally there to make sure Brett got the least amount of time as possible.
Did the prosecution ever speak with you or meet with you leading up to today's sentencing?
No, he didn't know who I was when he even came over to address us.
Really?
No, I've never spoke with him. Like I said, he came over to speak with us. He didn't know who I was.
That's a damn shame, Avis. The bottom line is the Trump Department of Justice, they don't give a damn about victims. They are there to protect cops.
Yeah, and they're there to protect white people. I'll just go ahead and take it a step further. It cannot be any more plain that this country has been taken over by a cabal of white supremacists. And one of the most dangerous places for them to be is over the Department of Justice. I mean, see what they've done to the Department of Civil Rights. It's been completely obliterated. They have made known what their priorities are and are not. And this is exactly what happens as a result of this. And what's really heartbreaking is that we shouldn't have to be here at all. This murder should never have happened in the first place. And then on the other side of this, to have insult to injury by disrespecting the family in that way is just completely unforgivable.
Mustafa.
You know, no mother, father, grandmother should have to sit in a courtroom and watch the devaluing of the life of the person that they loved. But unfortunately, we're going to see more of these types of situations. And if we're going to be honest about it, we have to also say that, you know, elections have consequences. So when I see these types of things happen, I think about everybody who sat on the couch. I think about everybody who said, I'm not going to vote. So, you know, there is a collective set of responsibility in this moment. And I hope people will remember it and they'll make sure that they do something different the next time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Michael, all these people who complained about Vice President Kamala Harris, all of these simple Simon Negroes, where they at? They ain't saying nothing. And here's what's going to happen. I'm telling you right now. What's going to happen is Trump is going to pardon Hankerson. It's going to happen. He's already pardoned other cops. Every cop that is convicted on the federal level of a crime, he is going to pardon them.
And most of those crimes are against black and brown people. So it's right up his alley. So I think you're right. I thought what Mustafa said was right. Clearly what Ava said was correct. It is kind of where we are. And it's certainly unfortunate. But when you either, as you mentioned, either sat on the couch or made some excuse for why you couldn't vote for a black woman, and you liked his policies, they were always challenged. What policies do you like? Of course, they couldn't come up with any. Oh, he's strong. Well, give me a break. He's weak. He's never been strong. He's always been weak. But they fell for the okie doke. A lot of these, I forgot what you call them, Simple Simons. They always say, oh, I can never be bamboozled, or I can never be fooled. They got fooled, and they couldn't vote for a black woman. That's basically where we are. And I anticipate as well that he will use his pardon power. And he's not even going to wait till the end of the term. He's going to pardon some of these police officers immediately.
Yep. Absolutely. Let's stay on the theme of thug cops. In Louisiana, federal prosecutors unveiled a sweeping indictment against 5 individuals, including 4 law enforcement officers, for a scheme to defraud the U.S. immigration system. What they did was they actually pushed forward these fraudulent reports where signed by cops that allow foreign nationals and their family members to remain in the United States under false pretenses. Here is the federal prosecutor laying out the indictment.
These unsealed indictments announced today send a clear message that whether you carry a badge or a business license, those who engage in criminal activities will be held accountable. In addition to the businessmen, 4 of the defendants are law enforcement officers who were entrusted to uphold the moral principles and values expected of those who carry a badge. When a businessman becomes the architect of a criminal scheme and law enforcement officials help carry it out, public trust erodes at every level. Visa fraud poses significant risks to individuals, public safety, and national security. False visas can facilitate illegal activities in the United States, including financial crime, crimes of violence, narcotics, human trafficking, etc. IRS criminal investigation special agents, along with our state and local partners, will not allow financial crime and immigration fraud to be hidden under the cloak of legitimacy. With both law enforcement and financial investigation expertise, IRS criminal investigation special agents are uniquely qualified to collaborate with our federal, state, and local partners with these types of cases by following the money. IRS criminal investigation special agents work diligently with our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners to hold both business professional and the participatory law enforcement officials accountable. Rooting out public corruption remains one of IRS criminal investigation's highest priorities.
Folks, this is crazy. Chandrakant Patel, businessman and Subway restaurant owner. Chad Doyle, Oakdale Police Chief. Michael Freck Slaney, Oakdale City Marshal. Glenn Dixon, Forest Hill Police Chief. Tebow Omeshea, former police chief of Glen Mora. That's four chiefs. What the hell is going on in Louisiana, Mustafa?
There must be something in the water. Maybe they need to stop polluting the water down there and people won't lose their damn minds. But, you know, you got pay to play. That's exactly what's going on in this situation. You know, you break somebody off and then they take care of you. So, you know, and the other thing that happens in this situation is when you got dirty cops, when you got bad cops, it makes it extremely difficult for those who are trying to do the right thing, to serve and protect in an honorable way. So, you know, you got to lock folks up. You got to call it out. You got to put a spotlight on it because we know that most folks have a real difficult time in trusting whether it's the local cop who's walking the block or a federal agent. So you just can't allow dirtiness to be in the system.
And these are indeed dirty cops, Avis.
Absolutely. I mean, that's corruption, classic corruption. And, you know, my hope is that they will get the fullest extent of the law. But, you know, we'll just have to see. I mean, we will have to see. At this point, I don't even know what to expect to happen at the end of the day in this country anymore. But let's hope that they will get the punishment that they deserve.
Michael, knowing Trump, he'll make them ICE agents.
And also what's interesting, when you have a Justice Department like the United States has now, under normal circumstances, the Justice Department would obviously have an investigation to see if it runs even deeper within those ranks. That's clearly not going to happen. It's again unfortunate, but we keep saying it. Mustafa says it. I say it all the time. Roland, I've heard you say it. Avis, I've heard you say it. Elections have consequences, and if folks are not held accountable, this is the kind of stuff that happens, and we'll obviously have to see this in certain places around the country for the next few years.
Absolutely. Folks, our last story will stay in Louisiana. Another shoe has dropped in the hazing death of 23-year-old Caleb McCray. Southern University has expelled the Omega Psi Phi fraternity chapter from their campus. Remember, Caleb Wilson, he was, first of all, I'm sorry, Caleb Wilson. Caleb Wilson was the 20-year-old young man who died after being hazed. The university's Division of Student Affairs found the chapter responsible for violating the student code of conduct. As a consequence of the investigation, the chapter has been removed from the list of recognized student organizations on campus. All fraternity privileges have been revoked, and the chapter is required to remove any physical markers such as benches, monuments, and plots from the grounds of Southern University. 23-year-old Caleb McCray has been charged with criminal hazing and manslaughter in connection with Wilson's death. And Omega Psi Phi had already moved and removed those individuals involved in hazing as members of the organization. And so, look, when I was at the Alpha Convention last week, I had several brothers stop me and said, "Hey, man, we appreciate your comments when it comes to hazing." And I said, I don't care what it is. I said, I'll call out any fraternity, whether it's mine or others, because the reality is we should not be sending young brothers and sisters home in body bags because folks haze. And Mustafa, you're an Alpha. Avis, you're an AKA. Michael, you are an Omega. And the reality is, listen, all of our organizations must take a hard stance. And anybody who is a member, whether you are a undergrad or you're a grad chapter, if you're hazing, I'm sorry, I want your punk ass out of the organization because it's all unacceptable. I'll start with Mustafa first, Avis, then Michael. Mustafa, go.
It's real simple for me. If you love black people, you're not going to brutalize them. If you love black people, love black people.
Absolutely. Avis? Yeah, absolutely. And I would just add, and what's particularly disturbing to me about this case, and oftentimes when this happens, is from someone who's not even at the damn campus anymore. Listen, it just frustrates me that you have grown-ass men out here who apparently have nothing better to do than to come and beat up young boys in college. That's a problem. And I hope that he finds, that his family finds justice with the person who did this to the fullest extent of the law, because in addition to the whole hazing aspect, that in and of itself, to me, is particularly egregious.
Michael,
obviously, thoughts to the family, and just plain wrong. It's just wrong and unfortunate.
Absolutely. So we're going to end it there. Let me thank Michael, Avis, and Mustafa for being on today's show. Folks, we certainly appreciate y'all watching as well. Don't forget, support the work that we do. We appreciate all of you who watch, who support us. We've had some 36,000 people who've donated to our show since we launched September 4th, 2018. Your support has been critical to our success. If you want to join our Bring the Funk fan club, please do so via Cash App. That's your preferred choice. Use the Stripe QR code. You see the QR code right there. Click the Cash App Pay button to contribute. You can also use that QR code for credit card transactions as well. If you want to send your check and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. That supports all the shows on the Black Star Network. That was the first bank account we set up, so that's why we do it that way. Of course, make it payable to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Of course, get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. Be sure to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network swag, our T-shirts, our mugs, our hats, you name it, all that sort of stuff. We have a new vendor. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. You can get it there. If you had any issues ordering before with Custom Spring, send us an email so we can help get your product back. And of course, don't forget, we want you to download the app Fanbase, get Fanbase, download the app, and also, if you want to participate in their Series A fundraise, $12.7 million has already been raised. The goal is $17 million. Go to startengine.com/fanbase. Folks, that's it for us, broadcasting live here at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. Don't forget, if you're an NABJ member, vote for Aaron Haynes for president, vote for me for vice president digital, vote for Raylene Johnson for vice president broadcast. You can vote online right now through August 8th. Folks, I'll see y'all tomorrow back in studio right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla! Downtown for Truth Talks.